What's going on, guys? Noah here, coming at you guys with a brand new video today. Today we are playing the March Mayhem Open in Garfield Park, Grand Rapids, Michigan. This is tournament coverage, actually. Every shot within this entire video is from the tournament that I played a few weekends ago, hosted by GREATLAKESDISCS. So go follow them on Instagram and Facebook. And if you guys haven't yet liked the video or have subscribed to my channel yet, hit that subscribe button and let's get right into it. My starting hole was 13 at 290 or 264. I'm throwing my Tour Series Raptor off the tee on a slight little flex hyzer shot. Ends up skipping me just dead straight under the bucket, tapping in a birdie for my first hole. So good start. Hole 14, 155, double Mando Island hole. There's a pathway right in front of the double Mando that you have to cross to be in bounds. If you don't, you proceed back to the tee box and you re-tee. I gave this a really good bid. It was my second throw in, so I was like, you know what, I'm going to give it a good bid, and ended up just coming a little bit low of the basket and skipping about 25 long, but tapped in a birdie there for 2 down. Hole 15, 487 feet. Throw my ESP force off the tee. I really just kind of threw this into a thrower. It was a really bad shot, unfortunately. And then I'm throwing my ESP buzz for an upshot here. I just come a little bit low and just kind of really did not commit to the shot, and just kind of burned it into the ground about 200 feet in front of me again. So I've got probably about a 90-foot jump putt here. I give it a super good bid. I come a little bit low, drops like the last 2 feet of it. So I'm tapping in a bogey here, unfortunately, on my third hole in, putting us back down to 1 down. Hole 16, 208 feet. I'm throwing my ESP buzz, and this just got understable for me and just kind of held straight the entire time. If I was just off to the left, I probably would have been fine. But looking at a 45, 50-foot jump putt here, come a little bit low, smash the cage, tapping in a par, leaving us still 1 down. Hole 17, 262 feet. I'm throwing my Big Z Sting here. Going to let it flip up to flat, kind of ride on off to the right, and then flex on back towards the basket because there was a nice little tailwind, so it pushed me a little bit further with a low ceiling, but left me about 15 feet pin high right to the right of this tree where I could see the whole basket, tapping in a birdie for 2 down. Hole 18, 248 feet. Throwing my Tour Series Raptor again. Going to let this one kind of go out a little bit wide. Kind of crashed in right in front of this big tree where the basket is, and put me probably about 8 feet from the basket. Easy little birdie tap in. Puts us 3 down. Hole 1, 216 feet. I'm throwing my ESP buzz here again. In this one, I didn't learn off of the shot from 16, and it just kind of stayed way too straight on me. I was just off my line once again, but have a really good bid from about 45 feet. I just kind of leave it a little bit to the right, trickle some chains, was just off, had great height. I was just kind of off a little bit to the right, so we're going to be tapping in a par for this. Hole 2, 323 feet. It's a big, just open shot. I'm throwing my ESP force, going to let it flex on out and kind of skip back towards the basket. Leaves kind of caught it up a little bit. And then this putt here was just atrocious. It didn't feel good. It slipped out of my hand. It was nose up the entire time. So we're tapping in a par on hole 2, leaving us still 3 down. Hole 3, 198. I'm throwing my ESP zone here. I should have thrown something a little bit different. I thought I could reach the basket on a more flat shot with my zone, but I just kind of left it really low and just bad shot. Trickled down the hill. But 55-foot uphill putt there. End up hitting the front of the cage again. I have a lot of this entire tournament where I'm just low. But tapping in a par on hole 3, unfortunately. I wish I would have grabbed this one first round. Hole 4, 258 feet. I'm throwing my Tour Series Raptor. There's a Mando to the left of that tree with the yellow sign there. Kind of throw this a little bit low, have it skip up towards the basket, and puts me about 20 feet. Looking at an easy little tap-in putt here for me. Anything within that 20 feet feels really comfortable for me. Hole 5, 268 feet. Throwing my Raptor again. I'm trying to go through this really squeezed gap, end up hitting some trees there in the middle. Really frustrated and kind of started throwing some duckings and son of a bee stings, unfortunately. So I'm left with probably about 100-foot upshot, and this shot almost goes in. You can't see the basket because it's blended in so well, but that almost goes in. Tapping in a par here on hole 5. Hole 6, 226 feet. Throwing my Raptor once again. Nice little forehand shot. It's dead straight, kind of tucked in some trees. I skip just below the basket and shoot probably about 15 to 18 feet past the basket for a quick, easy little birdie putt here. Putting us 5 down through, I don't know, hole 7, 232 feet. Throwing my Raptor once again. You guys are probably going to see a lot of Raptor shots out of me for this tournament. It's very forehand friendly. Nice little shot. Skipped way past the basket. I flashed the chains and kind of shot a little bit past. But another 20-foot putt. Quick, easy tap in for down 6. Hole 8, 308 feet. Throwing my ESP Force here, or my Glow ESP Force. And I didn't get enough turn on this. I was hoping I could squeeze through this weird little tree up top to get down to the basket, but I ended up smoking one of the branches. Left me probably about 130 out, so I'm doing a jump putt from the top of the hill down. I ended up hitting that big tree there to my left and then rolling probably about 20 feet to behind this tree. But ended up cashing in for the par, so I was happy with that. Hole 9, 352 feet, throwing my ESP Force. I ended up just bombing this. I threw it probably about 50 to 60 long of the basket, and just wasn't expecting to go that long. So I'm giving this a good bid. This was a weird putt. There was a huge crosswind that comes out of this field, and it just pulled it straight up and just sucked it past the basket. From about 33 feet, I ended up cashing that in. Hole 10, 270. I'm throwing my Force again because this plays more like 330 kind of uphill. I wanted to give this a good bid. I ended up skipping right next to the basket, pin high, almost went in and shot about 40 long of the basket. But downhill putt, super confident with these. Ended up smashing this one for down 7. Hole 11, 235 feet. Throwing my Raptor once again. Nice little shot. Easiest to go on the forehand line outside. And I'll hitting one of the last trees that you have to get past. My jump putt here, I kind of sawed it off a little bit. And then this is where it kind of gets a little bit fuzzy. Not really sure how that came out. This dead center middle squeaked around the side and just flopped out the side. So I was really frustrated with this. Going into the next hole, I wasn't focused. Throwing my Raptor here again. And I just didn't commit to the shot. I ended up throwing an OB, unfortunately. Literally maybe a couple inches onto that pathway there, because if you don't cross, you're out. So I know I have to make this putt. I've probably got about a 55-foot jump putt through a really tight gap between these two trees. And I end up cashing it in. I was super happy with it, so I ended up finishing 6 down on the round, but not my favorite. Okay, guys, going into round 2, starting hole 9, 352 feet. We are sitting 6 down right now currently, which puts me, I believe, in a 10-way tie for 4th place. I'm throwing my ESP Force here off the tee. End up bombing this one long once again. Just went really, really long. Wasn't nearly as long. I was probably about 40 long this time. Another right to left crosswind here. Kind of left my disc a little bit too high, and I kind of doinked her right off the top of the band, unfortunately. So we're going in to tap in for a par on our first starting hole for round 2. Hole 10, 270 feet, dead straight up. This time I'm throwing more of a spike hyzer directly into the ground. Going to let it sit and crash into the pine needles. Put me about 10 feet for an easy little tap-in birdie, putting us 7 down on the event. Hole 11, 235 feet. Throwing my Raptor once again. I end up putting this one out a little bit wider this time. And unfortunately, I end up skipping off the ground, smashing chains, and just dropping to the ground, unfortunately. Had a nasty spit out. But a tap-in birdie is okay. I ended up taking the CTP because it hit chains and just fell directly out of the basket. Hole 12, 263 feet. Throwing my Raptor once again. Nice little easy shot here. I left this one out a little bit wider this time. Kind of parked this one, putting us 9 down on the event. And kind of just starting this round super strong. So happy with it. Hole 13, 264 feet. Throwing my Raptor again. Just left this one out a little bit wider this time. Was hoping for a bigger skip. End up getting caught up in the grass and kind of skipped me. Probably about like 50 pin high to the basket. But I got a nice look at it here, so I'm going to give it a good bid. And I end up cashing this in for a 2 from about 45, 50 out. Hole 14, 155, that double Mando hole like we were talking about on round 1. I'm throwing my Chally again. I end up hitting the tree that you're supposed to get past. The basket's just past that. So I'm looking at probably about a 45, 50-foot jump putt again. And I left this one a little bit too far right. It had great height, great movement, great speed. I just kind of left it a little bit too far. And then coming up to this putt, I watched 2 of the guys that putted before me end up doinking off the basket because this basket is super low. But, I mean, no excuses. I just kind of let this one go, unfortunately. So I card a bogey here, unfortunately, putting us back down to 9 down. Out of all the holes, I really did not think this was going to be one of the ones that I was going to take a bogey on. But, I mean, it happens to the best of us, so, yeah. Going into hole 15, 487 feet. I'm throwing my force this time, and this time I did not make the same mistake. I ended up just bombing my force probably about 80 short of the basket. So pumped it out there about 400. Gave me about an 80-foot jump putt. I gave this a super close bid, and it dropped just before the basket once again, unfortunately. And we're tapping in a par on hole 15 where we took a bogey prior round. Hole 16, 205. Throwing my ESP Buzz. And this one just, I don't know what happened. I can't even explain it. I left it too flat, and it carried a lot longer than what I wanted. And I ended up going a little bit long in the basket, so I'm looking at probably about a 45-foot putt with a just dead center headwind, and it just sucked it straight to the ground. So we're going to be tapping it a par on hole 16. Hole 17, 262 feet. Throwing my Big Z Sting again. We had this time kind of more of a right to left kind of swirly wind out there. I didn't get this one up in the air nearly as much. I gave it a really good bid off of the tee. I just kept it a little bit too low. But then my jump putt here, I thought I cashed it, and I ended up hitting the cage once again. I'm dialed in. I just got to get it up. So I'm tapping in a par on hole 17. Hole 18, throwing my Tour Series Raptor again. Throw this one, the same exact shot as first round. End up hitting like the tree directly next to the basket, like the roots, and it just shoots it and does some weird like stuff on the ground. It looked like it was going to skip in if it didn't hit those roots. It had a really good bid, so tapping in a birdie there for 10 down. Hole 1, 216 feet, and this was a a yank. We can call it that, a yanker. I threw this like 60 long in the basket, way offline, and I've got a jump putt here from about 90 feet. I give it a really good bid. I had no expectations to make it, so I wasn't too upset with the outcome of that. But left me probably about 20 feet past the basket there, tapping in a par. Hole 2, 323 feet. Throwing my ESP Force again. Not going to make the same mistake. I left this one out a little bit more wider to the right, so it'd flex on back towards the basket a little bit closer. Leaving me probably about 30 to the basket, a little bit long. And I'm cashing this one in on the elevated bucket. Hole 3, I'm throwing my Raptor this time. I throw this one with not enough power. I end up skipping off the ground, and it kind of shoots me past the basket and then back down the hill, unfortunately. But it's a 25-footer uphill. I feel confident with this putt, so I'm going to end up running it. Little spoiler there, I end up making it. Hole 4, 258 feet. Mando to the left of that tree. I'm throwing my Raptor again. This shot is almost identical to round 1. Just replicated the entire flight. And then probably put me like 6 or 7 feet closer this time. So we're tapping in a par, or a birdie, sorry, for 13 down. Hole 5, 286. This time I'm not trying to take the really low ceiling gap. I'm throwing a forehand flex shot. End up getting caught up in the leaves, and it leaves me probably about 60 short. And then this jump putt, for some reason, I gave it a lot of ante because there was a headwind, and then the headwind stopped, and it just kind of carried past the basket. So we're going to be tapping in a par on hole 5. Hole 6, 226 feet. Throwing my Tour Series Raptor again. Throw this one a little bit lower. Wanted to kind of flare and skip towards the basket. I didn't get too big of a flare. I kind of just like hit, sat. So I'm looking at my options here. I've got a pretty weird straddle putt, that little spider tree to the left of it's really tough to kind of get through, so I got to straddle out a little bit wider than what I would usually like to do, but end up cashing this in for 14 down. Hole 7, 232. I'm throwing my Tour Series Raptor again, and I know that I am a few strokes behind. I believe I'm 2 behind currently, and I needed to birdie this hole and the next hole, so I end up giving this a good bid, and I go a little bit long, but I'm looking at probably about a 25-foot putt just long in the basket, and we end up cashing this in. So at this point, I know I'm at least 1 behind going into my final hole, 352 feet. This hole is very demanding. You have to get through this gap. I end up throwing it probably about 400. I go about 50 long of the basket. Was hoping to park this. So at this point, I know that I have to make this to tie up or go into a playoff. And I gave this the best bid that I possibly could have. I hit the basket once again, unfortunately, and kind of just fell a little bit short. So we're tapping in for par on our final hole, finishing me out at 15 down on the event. I was very happy with it. And here are our final results, guys, for that event. I ended up coming short just by 1 stroke, finishing me in a 4-way tie for second place. My first round was 918 rated, and then my second was 973. This course is super attackable, and I just kind of fell a little bit short. So if you guys enjoyed the video, leave a like on the video. If you guys want me to do more tournament coverage, let me know in the comments, or even go let me know on my Instagram page. I'd love to do more of this. It's my first time doing it, so I want to see kind of how it flows with you guys and how it really does on my channel. But thank you for watching.